have backend, frontend, DevOps. And then later on, not necessarily in this video, but let me go back to the default. We can actually create the form and push everything to the database from the backend, as you can see. But that's gonna be for later. So what we're gonna do is this YouTube one. So I'm gonna actually go ahead and do is I'm gonna delete it. Let me see. We're gonna delete it. Right. We're gonna delete it, and then we're gonna go to the server, and we're actually gonna cut the backend. So remove everything from the database, and then we're gonna rerun the backend, and then so that's gonna be loading up. So if we get our jobs, we should return an array, but this has to load up first. That's the reason why I have a build error, is because there's no backend. All right, look, so we're still connecting. The backend is still loading up. So let's just, there we go. So the backend's on. So empty array. So we should have nothing in the database from the backend. And I'm not gonna necessarily talk about the front end. What you can do is just do this, and then I default everything. I don't know if the source defaults to yes, but I do yes for the source. That's the only way that you can go about that, in my opinion. And then, so basically how I did it is you do npx, and this is what I did. Just to get ahead of some of the defaults. But you can use do this. Latest. Alright. And then as you can see, that I just named the front end, which is this. And then jobs is the backend. The reason why it doesn't say backend is because this is just like a small sample of a backend that I extracted from a microservice. So if you go to the front end, because that's what we're going to be doing, we're not doing the back end. If you do ls, there you see everything. So let's actually go ahead and work on the front end. So I'm going to ignore what I already have for the jobs, which is this, right? Because I want to create it from scratch, because I'm getting in practice for the front end, because front end isn't my strong suit. So we're going to call it YouTube for the directory, and then it's going to be page.tsx. For Next.js 13, it used to be index.tsx or JSX, but for Next.js 14, you have to do page.tsx. Right? So what we're going to do is we're going to do this, and then we're going to name it YouTube page. Let's just get this out of the way. FC. And then here, let me go ahead and clear that. Alright. So look, let's go ahead and come in here and then load it up. No such directory. Okay, give me 1 second. Let me just make sure I didn't cut out the front end. Rerun it just to make sure. So here we go. Let's go ahead and let it load. Alright, there we go. So we have the page running. So yes, so that doesn't look so weird. Let's delete 2 here, and then actually let's go ahead and do an h1 class before we begin anything. I can't do single quotes. That's some crackhead shit right there. So let's do class name, and then we're gonna do text 5xl, lag going on. So let's get into what's really hard in my opinion. I've been practicing front end. Let's go ahead and delete this YouTube list. I deleted the job list. Okay, so let's go ahead and delete this, and let's go ahead and create a YouTube list, and then .tsx, right? And then let's do the same. Let's do React functional component, and then here let's delete to this, and then here let's delete the rest. Alright, there we go. Alright, so we're gonna have to look at the backend. We're gonna look at the model, and the model, as you can tell, is this. So for the model, for the fields, it's gonna be ID, title, description, minimum salary, maximum salary, and location. So let's go ahead and bring that over to the front end, because we have to create an interface. Alright, and then so we're gonna create an interface, and we're gonna call it job, and then we're gonna have an ID number, and then everything else, title should default to string, description, minimum salary, max salary, string, and then finally location. Okay, so let me go ahead and delete all this. Okay, so no errors from the logs. Alright, so first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna create a jobs state. So jobs set jobs, and then we're gonna use the state, right? And then it's gonna be an empty array of jobs, of type jobs, and then we're gonna default to an empty array, just like that. Oh, and then actually we have to make a const. There we go. So then we're also gonna do one for loading, and we're gonna do one for errors. So let's do loading, set loading, and then use state. And then for loading, it's gonna be a boolean for the type, and then we're gonna default it to true. And then for the error, this one, for me personally, I find the most difficult to do. You can do it very simply with just doing a string, but I found out a really nice way to actually not just return the string even if everything's working properly, there's just no data in it, and that is by doing this. So we're gonna do string or null, and then we're gonna default to null array. And then this broke again, give me 1 second. Alright, this for me is the hardest part. Like when I'm in the gym, this is what I'm practicing, and then it's this specifically, like what's gonna come here. Right, so then we're gonna create a function, and we're just gonna name it fetch the data, right? And let's go ahead and actually create that fetch data. Alright, there we go. And then we actually have to do async. So whenever you're fetching for the data or the data, and you don't know how long it's gonna take, you have to do async, right? And then we're gonna create a try catch error, and then a finally, and then we're gonna get to it const result. We're gonna create a wait for the API call, and then we're gonna use Axios, and then we're gonna get, and then let me bring in a little bit of autopilot just for this line. And then for us, it's gonna be 80, and then jobs. And then this right here really depends on your backend, whatever you're using, like the Django or Spring or like, you know, Node or whatever you're using for the backend. For example, let me go to the backend. For us, for Spring, you actually have to use this specific code. Like you cannot work it out unless you have this. So we're using Spring. We're trying to follow this. You have to do this web config, and then you just have to allow Next.js to use the backend, right? So let's go back to it. So that's the reason why it's 8080 dash. Usually it's slash API slash jobs, but just for simplicity, I did it slash jobs. And then we're gonna do set job, and then it's gonna be the result, and then the data, and then that's it. And then this is really hard for me. Sometimes I get it, sometimes I don't. We're gonna do an error message, and then this is gonna be error response question mark dot data question mark dot, and then message, or fetching failed, or and then set error is gonna be error message, and then hopefully that worked out correctly. Oh yeah, here we're gonna have to infer any. Okay, there we go. And then finally, we're gonna also go ahead and work on the loading. So loading, set loading, it's gonna be false. Because remember, we're gonna default to true, so we're not loading. Finally, you know. And then that should be it. Let me see. Okay, so we're just gonna jump into this code too. We're just gonna work here. If loading, return p, and then alright, and then let me go ahead and just wait. Let's do the loading. For the loading, we're gonna do this. And then here we're gonna do error. And then we're gonna do this. Boom, just like that. Okay, so let me see. It looks like we're good. So yeah, I think we're pretty solid overall. So now the only thing we gotta actually go ahead and do is just the mapping for the objects and the fields and everything. So let's go ahead and get to it. Alright, so let's remove this. Right. And then let's do jobs, map, and then okay, just like that. Let me go ahead and delete this. Oh no. Okay, let me go ahead and delete the word. Right. And then here we're gonna have ID, then title, then minimum salary, then max salary, and then finally location. Let me just make sure that I got everything. Yeah, I did. Okay. So then what we're gonna go ahead and do is we're gonna do div, and then we're gonna have a key, and that's gonna be the ID, right? And then we're gonna close this out, and let me just go ahead and format this. Give me 1 second. Let me just format everything. Actually, I want everything a little bit neater. Okay, there we go. Okay, so now So this is where we're at right now. So now we're gonna go ahead and do is we have to get everything, all these fields: title, min, max, and location. So what I'm gonna do is, let's do the title first. Right, let's do the title first, and then bring in that title, and then we're gonna do p, and then class name, and then we're gonna go ahead and do this, and then you'll see why. So use jank and paste. Okay, so then we're gonna go ahead and do min. No, we're gonna do this. Oh, we forgot description actually. Yeah, I forgot something. Inferior. Okay, there we go. Okay, let's do description, and then we're gonna do min salary. So actually, let's go ahead and have at least two job postings. So here we go, ID1 and then ID2. Yes, so that you can see that it's actually pulling in. And then let's go back to the page, and then here let's call in that YouTube list. And then whenever you're using a state, you have to do this. You have to use client. And this is in Next.js 14 because like this is not a thing in 13, because I was using 13 before. And then let me see, use client. Let this load. I don't know why it's like tweaking. Give me 1 second. Okay, it didn't matter. Alright, here we go. Look, they loaded up. So yeah, that's that. Let me go ahead and purposely make an error here. And then let's see what happens here. Look, fetching failed. So yeah, fetching failed. But it also knows if the fetching didn't fail, if it's an empty array, it's just gonna throw in the loading. And that's the reason why I was studying this little line, because it does miracles. Instead of just returning fetching failed, even if it's an empty array, now it actually tells us an error message if it's actually failing, like there's data but it's failing, or there's no data, so it's just gonna say loading. Because there's not necessarily actually an error, it's just loading in because there's nothing in the backend of the database. Alright, so we gotta go ahead and do space. Actually, before we get into that, let's make this nicer. Class name, and then let me do rounded to no, confusing the border to, because 4 looks a little too aggressive in my opinion. Rounded MD, and then let's do what else? Let me see. For now, let's just save this. Okay, there we so now I can actually visually see it. So let's do space Y, and then let's do like 8, right? Alright, and then let's do padding 3, just so that it looks a little bit neater. And then let's make it orange, and then 200. Okay, and then let's also do MX12 here. There we go. You see that looks like very nice. And then all we're gonna do here is we're gonna do font bold. Alright, and then we're gonna do margin 12, margin top, like let's do 8, just so that it doesn't overlap here. And then I think we're pretty much done. Let me just format everything. Hopefully it stays consistent with quotation marks. Okay, there we go. Alright, this is formatted. Yeah, so I think this is it. Let me see. Yeah, it looks like we're actually good to go. For here, let's make it a container. And then I think, yeah, let's make it a container actually. And then if anything, this just gotta get cut a little bit to like maybe let's do 8. 8 seems to be a good number. You know what? Actually, let's just let's actually remove this container. Let's see. Yeah, like so. Let's just leave it like this. And so yeah, that's gonna be the end product. Pretty much it. Let me just go ahead and reload the front end. Yeah, so this is it. Everything works perfectly. And then just to prove it, let's go ahead and actually change these titles, just so you can actually see there's something happening. Okay, let's do backend, and then let's do front end, and then you do DevOps, and then that's gonna be it. And then look, if we get them from the backend, this is gonna be the backend. Look, it's not gonna be an empty array no more. Look, here's the array of JSON being returned to us, and backend, front end, and then here it's gonna load them up. And yeah, so that's gonna be it. If anything, I'll leave this code like for the front end, or just the whole code from the back end to the front end in the description down below. But yeah, just let me know if you guys actually want the code, because it was just a small snippet for the front end.